I kick ass at time management. And you know what? You do too. It's how we thrive in a deadline-driven industry. Personally, I blame the book Cheaper by the Dozen, which I had to read in high school for a book report. It's the story of two efficiency experts and how they practice their theories on their 12 children. Did you know that you can learn a foreign language while brushing your teeth? Or that you can save 2 seconds by buttoning your shirt bottom up instead of top down? When I first learned this idea of being able to layer tasks and fit things in the margins, I became obsessed with time management. But I have to ask myself, if I'm so good at time management, then why is there never, ever enough? You see, we tend to make decisions about our commitments based on how much time it's going to take. So if somebody asks you for 10 minutes, you'll give them 10 minutes. Why? Because it's only 10 minutes. But sometimes that 10-minute thing we commit to sucks the life out of us. Now, you might have noticed I'm a bit of an animated person, so when I had small children at home, I was asked to teach children's church. 1 hour, 1 Sunday a month. The problem is that in the days leading up to when I would need to teach, I was filled with dread and anxiety. Not only that, but once I'd actually taught, it took me all day to ramp my energy back up. There's not a direct correlation between how much time you spend and how much energy you burn. It's a little bit like, do you guys remember Columbia Records and Tapes? You would send in a penny, and you would get back 13 tapes of the most popular music of your choosing. The problem is that every month after that, they would send you another tape that you didn't want or ask for, hugely overpriced. Or maybe it's more like the freemium games, like anybody play Candy Crush or Angry Birds, right? Like it's a free game, it's a free app, but if you really want to get in anywhere, you've got to spend some money. The other problem with looking at time management is it affects how we give up on things that are good for us, that would actually build our energy. Have you ever skipped a workout because you didn't have enough time? Or maybe you stayed up super late to try to get in those few extra hours, even though it was going to take your energy the next day. So none of us in this room would ever write a $10,000 check on an account that only had $150 in it. But we regularly write energy checks that we do not have the resources to cover. So Tony Schwartz of the Energy Project writes that we need 4 things. We need sufficient rest. No big surprise there, right? We need to feel valued and appreciated. We need to have the freedom to work on our highest goals. And we need to feel connected to a cause bigger than ourselves. And none of that has anything to do with time. Okay, so if I were to ask you to break out an Excel spreadsheet and list everything you do, so start at work, all the tasks that you do for work, the organizations you serve, every line is a task, what you do at home, your hobbies, your household chores, and then I had you put a column right next to it, and you were to rank each of those tasks on whether it energizes you and drains you. How well would your spreadsheet balance at the bottom? Everybody in this room has a demanding job, and chances are that we do not have room for one task on that list outside of our 40-plus day job hours that takes more than it gives, right? Not if we want to balance. So why do we have so many items on our task list that don't balance, that drain us? Because we are terrified to death of what people would think of us if we stopped doing them. So, embarrassing story, my children's church example, we actually left the church so that I would not have to have that hard conversation. If we want spreadsheets that balance, we gotta man up, right? We've gotta be honest about how we feel about our commitments. Because unless we stop all of those things that are poking holes in our little energy boats, it does us no good to build our energy. So we have to be honest with how we feel about them, and then we have to get rid of those embezzlers off of our spreadsheet. But once we do that, then we're in a position to build our energy. Okay, there's 3 ways that I know to do this. The first is to build daily practices. The next is to schedule white space. And the last one is to commit to short timelines so that our motivation and our energy remains high. All right, so let's start with this whole base of daily practices. Everybody has a daily practice. Hopefully you guys all got up this morning and brushed your teeth, right? Like that would be a good daily practice. The thing is, what works for me may not work for you. All of us are in different places in our lives. We're different people. We have different things that energize us. I get up, I do 30 minutes of yoga and meditation every morning. When I had small children at home, there was no way I was ever gonna get 30 minutes to myself in the morning, right? What I can tell you to do is that you can experiment and figure out what works for you. Have you been curious about green smoothies? Look online for a recipe, get a blender and try them. Are you super tired of hearing about Andrew Weinberg's step count? Get a Fitbit and beat him. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Intermittent fasting, couch to 5K, whatever it is that interests you even just a little bit, experiment on yourself. Because here's the best part of an experiment. If you try something and it doesn't work, it is no big deal. Because the thing that drains our energy the quickest is that nagging, bitchy little voice inside our head, right? Try things, experiment them, add them into that base of daily practices that you have. And the next thing you can work on after that is scheduling white space. Okay, so many of us in the room are designers, and we've used InDesign. And while engineers may feel that the most efficient way to get information on a page is to run the text box all the way to the edges, designers know that white space impacts comprehension. So how many of you guys in here have at least 1 hour a week where you do absolutely nothing? Show of hands. Okay, how many of you who didn't raise your hands looked at those people and thought, slackers? As a culture, we hate white space, right? We feel like it's wasted time. Ori Braffman, who wrote The Chaos Imperative, writes that when our time is too regimented, when we focus too long on a task, we completely lose our creativity. You know what else? History proves this out. Innovative thinkers like Tesla and Edison and Einstein all had practices where they built white space into their schedules because it was essential to get those flashes of insight. So how do we get white space in our schedule? Well, you have to schedule it. You have to put it on your calendar, and you have to defend it as if it were a meeting with a client. And here's the thing. Don't tell anybody that it's white space, okay? Because we've already established that as a culture, we hate white space, and people love to fill yours up. And nobody knows that better than people who work from home, right? All right, so again, building that base of daily practices, scheduling white space and defending it, and then only committing to short timelines so that our motivation remains high. Okay, so did you guys know that there is a trend in personal planners to only run for 13 weeks? Neither did I. Which is why it was quite a surprise to me when I ordered the self-journal off Kickstarter that I was going to try an analog journal, and I brought all the birthdays I was going to write it in, and the whole thing stopped in April. This is what I learned. If you plan for 13 weeks to hit a goal, you will hit that goal. Why? Because motivation starts high when we start a project, and motivation is a perishable commodity. All those things, perfectionism, self-doubt, insecurity, they nip at us. They nip away our motivation like piranha. But they need a timeline to work. The faster we can move from ideation to execution, the more likely it is that we're going to put something of ourselves out there in the world. Okay, so time management. Does time really not matter at all? Part of the problem is that time is a fixed variable. No matter how hard we try, we cannot add one more minute into our 24-hour days. And we know this because we've tried. When we shift our focus from managing time to building our energy, we can get way more out of our 24 hours. You know the best part? We go to sleep, and we actually sleep because we don't feel like we're wasting time. All I can tell you is that when I switched my focus from time management to building energy, it changed everything. And it can do it for you too. Thank you, guys.